Hey guys, we're excited to be back with you today. We're Jamin and Ashley Mills from thehandmadehome.net, and we are back today with another fun coffee talk.
And today our topic is all about not regretting your renovation.
Yeah, so it's something we have a lot of experience dealing with people as we help them walk through that line or across that line maybe even of how to achieve the goal they want and not have that builder regret.
We see a few things here and there that all add up to regret in the end, and today we thought we'd discuss a few of those topics.
We want to start with what we find is a very obvious one. And if you grew up in the 70s, 80s, you might think of something like wood paneling for this, but don't be too trendy with your choices.
Yes, I think it's so easy to get caught up in what the current trends are when it comes to a lot of the permanent things that are going into your house. And there's a fine line between over-the-top trendy and maybe something that has like a timeless classic feel with a little bit of a twist to it. And I think it's really important that you're careful to navigate those waters when it comes to what you're putting in your home.
Yeah, and I think one way I always try to think of this or talk about this is there's a lot of places that are really nice to visit, but I don't want to live there. And I think that holds true when you start thinking about trends, is there's a lot of things you're going to see that are really nice and cool in the space. They also might work for that time period, but it's something you want to live in or live with. Is it something you want to be in your house for a decade or more? Or as Ash says, do you want to go timeless and classic?
Obviously, we think that you should pick what you love and always go with that because, you never really get tired of that. But I think there's people get a little bit confused when it comes to finally picking those finishes, and it can cause a lot of anxiety because it comes down to that moment of picking that one thing, and sometimes people aren't sure what to do because it's all over Pinterest or it's all over certain things. And so there is a fine line with too trendy and something that you really love. Yeah,
and I think the anxiety you hit on is real key there. It's a safety thing for a lot of people. They've seen it in so many places, it just seems safe, but at the end of the day, safety doesn't always make you happy. And so you have to kind of keep that in mind. Just because you're seeing it everywhere and it does feel safe and it seems easy, it may not be the best choice for you.
Yes, so do what you love, but always be careful to double check yourself, and hopefully you're not going too trendy with something that's a little bit over the top that you might be replacing in about 2 years.
So Ashley, what would you consider too trendy or something that makes things too trendy?
I think there's a big difference between truly doing something that you love because you do love it versus picking something just to have it done because you're stressed out and it looked good on Pinterest. I think certain things fit certain homes, and I think some things could be considered trendy. I mean, trend and love are all in the eye of the beholder, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure you're not going to be tired of it in 3 to 5 years and that you're still going to love it down the line because it does have that classic edge to it. I always say that chevron was also found in the Taj Mahal, so it's all very relative. But make sure that you're making the choices that you're making because you truly do love it and not because your sister's boyfriend's uncle's cousin's twice removed told you it looked good.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. And I think it also leads us kind of to our next question as we think about trendy stuff, and that is to not consider cost on everything in a bad way. You need to consider cost so you don't blow your budget, obviously, but don't let cost be that driving factor in everything you do as well.
It is so easy to let cost sabotage your project. I think that if you find cost being your driving factor and it's completely stressing you out, it's smart to take a step back. You do not have to have everything finished right away. Make sure that you're not getting yourself into a situation where you're completely dominated by that, and that you can take a fresh breath of air and step back and really consider your choices and why you're making them.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of ways to think about cost in this. If you think about how people who lived before us did it, a lot of times they would have enough money to build a foundation, they'd build it, and then it might sit for a little while, and then they had enough money to frame, and they would frame it, and they'd move on and move forward, whereas we think we've got to microwave it all in a 3-month period. And that may not be your style, it may be, but don't feel trapped by that cost.
I also want to add that I feel like we live in a reality TV kind of generation, like you said with the microwave, but I feel like there is a little bit of brainwashing that has taken place with our expectations and what we feel like is supposed to happen versus reality. And there's nothing wrong with taking your time and stepping back and realizing that cost doesn't have to dominate everything that you do, because we haven't seen more regret in people than when they feel like they were very pushed into something and they painted themselves into a corner, literally, and then they regretted it because of cost.
Which kind of brings us to our next point, and that is don't do it until you're ready to do it. We like to tell people to kind of live in a space and let the space speak to them, because you'll be amazed at how what you first think your idea of the space should be will gradually change as you live there and have time to let it marinate and process it a little bit.
We truly cannot be more passionate about this topic. It happened to us personally with our own house. We did paint ourselves into that proverbial corner when we moved here. We were in a rush and we wanted to get our kids settled, and we're speaking in idealistic terms. We know that real life doesn't always dictate that for you, and we found ourselves in that situation where we were in such a hurry, but because of codes here, we actually had to take our time with a lot of things. And looking back, as hard as it is for us to admit that, we're grateful for that, because it made us take a step back and live with our basement for a while, think about what we wanted. Also, we discovered some problems with the house that we were able to fix appropriately that we would not have known about had we rushed into the process.
Yeah, and so while you feel like you need to get it done quickly, sometimes getting it done slowly is actually better. It's the tortoise and the hare kind of thing. So these are just some things we wanted to talk about and share with you that we've learned with working with clients and ourselves, and we hope you'll find them beneficial.
Yes, absolutely, and happy renovating.
We'll see you next time on Coffee Talk.
Cheers.